Hi everyone, welcome back to another Stitches and Scribbles podcast. My name is Erin and today we're going to be talking about some craft fair adventures, some knitting supply issues, and just what I'm working on and some updates about the channel. So I just had my first couple of craft fairs. I actually have another one later today. I usually film podcasts on Wednesdays and I got a deal where I am working 3 farmers markets 3 Wednesdays in a row. So I already had the first one and today's going to be the second one, and I have one again next week. I think it actually goes for 4 weeks and they may have given me the wrong date, so there may be a 4th one from the same location, but I'm not sure yet. I need to double check with the farmers market organizer team. And then at my parents' house they also had a neighborhood garage and craft fair day where everybody put tables out in their front yards and did more garage fair type stuff, but there were a couple of artists and local vendors who just did things out of their front yards. So I now have 2 sort of craft fair situations that I have participated in. So I figured I'd tell you a little bit about how it went. The farmers market, I definitely got a lot more shoppers from, which I expected. I ended up selling 13 items at my first one, which I thought was pretty good for my first run. My most popular items ended up being my little knit and crochet pumpkins, as well as the soap savers and earrings that I made. I haven't sold any stitch markers yet, but I also haven't had anyone approach my table who actually knit or crocheted and knew enough that stitch markers were something that they would use, if that makes sense. I had a lot of beginning knitters and crocheters approach my table, which I then just told them about my channel. Some of them I explained what stitch markers are and what they're used for, but I had a couple people who were more interested in the video tutorial side of things, so that was exciting as well. Then at the neighborhood garage sale day, I only had, I think, 2 customers, and I sold 3 items. I sold a pair of earrings, a scrunchie, and I believe a soap saver was the 3rd thing that I sold. So that was also fun, even though there were a lot fewer shoppers. But I think that crowd was more looking for garage sale finds type of deal. I had a lot of people that I saw walking around with chairs or furniture, or driving around to see what people were selling. So I think it was more people looking for house or decorations or kids clothes and toys kind of situation. But at the garage sale, I actually had someone approach me and invite me to be a vendor at a craft fair in October. So that was really exciting. Even just knowing that it's specifically a craft fair, not a farmer's market. So people coming to that venue are looking for handmade items and art and stuff like that. So that was really exciting to be invited to that one, and that made it worth sitting outside for a couple hours on a Saturday morning by itself. So far, selling things in person is actually going really well. I knew it was going to be a slow start, and I've been trying not to get my hopes up too much about how many shoppers I will have or how many items that I will sell. But so far it's going well. I have had a couple people approach me saying that they're interested in custom items, and I have business cards that I've given out, but so far I haven't gotten any contact from people who said they were interested in custom things. I had a couple people who were interested in shawls and a couple people who were interested in specific color soap savers. So I went ahead and got the yarn for the soap savers in hopes, because that was all at the farmer's market, in hopes that those people would just come back the following week to look for different colors. Let me know down below if you're someone who makes stuff with the scrubby yarn. Is there a company that makes it in beige? Because I could not find one. I now usually use the Red Heart Scrubby Sparkle for my soap savers, and there was no beige or brown colorway, and someone specifically asked for beige because it was the color of her bathroom or something. And that's a pretty common bathroom decor color, and also it's a like pretty neutral color, so I can see that one being really popular, and I was surprised they didn't have it. I did end up getting the Red Heart Scrubby Cotton, I think is what it is, in the color Almond, which is like shades of tan and brown and cream, like a variegated yarn, but I couldn't find a solid like tan or brown, which I thought was kind of odd. So if you know of a company that has that, let me know. I also checked at Hobby Lobby. Their like equivalent to the scrubby yarn didn't have that color either. There also aren't a lot that even carry gray. I ended up getting the Red Heart Scrubby Sparkle in the color Oyster, which is like definitely gray, but like a slightly purplish gray. And then I also have black and white, but I thought that was kind of odd because I feel like a lot of people have like beige or like beach themed bathrooms. So maybe because the scrubby yarn is supposed to be meant more for dish towel things, but I also feel like having beige or brown kitchens is not that uncommon. So let me know if you have found a brown scrubby yarn anywhere, because I could not find one. I did not check at Michael's, but I was pretty sure Michael's also only carried the Red Heart Scrubby Sparkle as far as like that type of yarn. But let me know. The one that I didn't look at was the Lily Sugar and Cream, because that's like all cotton, and I really like the more like exfoliating scrubby version for soap savers, especially because those tend to dry better than the 100% cotton ones. Like if you hang it in the shower, it will actually dry out between uses, whereas the cotton ones usually won't. They kind of just stay damp, which isn't great. I don't think I like that as much. You'd have to like take the soap bar out and like let it hang dry between uses, which kind of defeats the purpose. So anyway, craft fairs were good. I think the most popular item of stuff I ended up selling was actually earrings, the pumpkins, and I sold quite a few twisty headbands. So those were kind of my top 3 items. And the earrings are super easy to make. I did make some that had little glass mushroom beads that I got from Joann's, and those by far were the most popular of the earrings. So the whole like cottagecore thing clearly is still in full swing, which I thought was kind of funny. I had some very nice teenage girls who bought multiple pairs of earrings each, who were excited about the mushrooms, so that was fun. The only downside to craft fair so far is that I ended up like destroying both of my Centro knitting machines, which I was really disappointed about. I'll like kind of explain what's wrong with each one. So this is my 22 pin machine. This one, for some reason, has run into an issue where anytime there's any tension on the needles, so basically if there's yarn on it, regardless of what like tension setting I have it set to here, if there's anything on it, the crank starts to like skip gears. And I'm thinking that that must mean that there are gears inside where the teeth aren't lined up anymore, or like some of them have broken off or something. But it makes like a really loud like grinding noise when I use it, and it takes a lot longer because it's like basically skipping pins. So I'll be like cranking and cranking and it does nothing for like 10-ish rotations of the handle. The only yarn that it can still handle is the scrubby yarn, because that is actually really thin yarn. It's like a 1 weight at the core if you like don't count the fuzzy stuff around it, which is good because that's probably the yarn that I hate working with the most by hand, just because it gets itchy after a while and starts to like make my fingers go raw. So I kind of need this in order to make soap savers, and since those have been pretty popular, I kind of need this to work. So I'm a little disappointed because that shouldn't have happened. That like isn't a normal wear and tear thing that I've discovered with these. So that was kind of disappointing. But I made enough from the first 2 craft fairs to actually order the Addy 22 pin, which is much better quality, lasts a lot longer. you can actually get replacement parts for it instead of like these where like I don't even want to attempt taking it apart because I don't think I will ever get it back together or even be able to replace the parts if I did take it apart. So kind of sad, but at least this one, the replacement should be here by Monday. So that'll be nice. I did order the 22 pin from Amazon because that was the only place I could find it online that would ship the 22 one. But eventually when I do order the 48 pin Addy, I'm going to probably get it from the Hirschner's website just to like support an actual like crafting business instead of Amazon. Also, I believe Hirschner's is based in Wisconsin and so am I. So it would be nice to like support more of a local business that carries that. But they don't carry the 22 pin. So I did have to get the 22 pin from Amazon. And then my big Centro, so this is the 48 pin. I actually ended up joining a knitting machine Discord group that I was invited to through Instagram that helps me figure out what was wrong with my Centro because I didn't know what was wrong with it. It just started dropping stitches everywhere. Like I even went back and looked at photos of some of my really early knitting machine projects to see like, okay, was it dropping stitches the whole time and I just didn't notice? But no, my like first few months of projects were totally fine. No drop stitches, no issues, nothing. And then it got to the point where like it can't handle regular 4-weight yarn anymore. And that's like what it's meant for. It did okay with 3-weight, although I still did get some drop stitches. And I was just really disappointed in it and I like didn't know what happened to it. But somebody in the knitting machine group explained that eventually the yarn feeder wears out, especially if you're doing the crank with the drill attachment, which I was using. So there's actually like a whole like part of the yarn winder or yarn feeder thing is like worn off, so it's at the wrong angle and that's why the machine was dropping stitches. I tried to fix it by putting like a dot of tacky glue in there, hoping to like fill in the spot where it had worn away. That didn't help. I tried running it backwards because that was another recommendation and that didn't help either. Plus it has gotten just like very sticky over time. Like even if I'm trying to turn it with nothing in there, it'll occasionally get kind of stuck on the sides. So time for a new one eventually. Luckily, I don't like need any more hats and headbands to sell. Like I think I'm pretty good. And those like I can do by hand if needed. So hopefully I'll make enough at the next couple craft fairs to get the big Addy machine so that I can continue making things for next year. Yeah, so that was all of my craft fair stuff, which was super exciting and lots of fun. I'm getting to the point now where like I can slow down the craft fair production a little bit because for a while I was like panicking trying to make sure that I just had enough stuff because all of these craft fair opportunities were kind of, I don't want to say last minute, but I kind of like stumbled upon them and then had to be ready like the next week to start. So I had known about the one for my parents, but I wasn't planning on making a ton of stuff for that one because I knew that I wasn't going to get that many people coming to it. But then the farmer's market one, I like went with my mom and signed up that day to come back the next week. So that was the one where I was like, okay, like I have to get going on stuff to get it finished. So I'm really glad for the opportunity, but I'm also glad that like I can slow down a little bit more and take some more time to focus on things because I do have other like non-knitting and crochet projects that I want to get back into doing. And so I think that also means that I'm going to have to go back to doing once a week videos on YouTube instead of twice a week. And I'm planning to start that in October. So you still got a couple weeks of double videos. But I think I am going to have to switch back to a once a week schedule, which probably means that like the sit down full podcast is only going to happen once a month. But I'm okay with that because A, it means like I have other stuff to work on. Like, I started the twice a week YouTube because that was the only like scheduled thing I had going on for over the summer. It also was a way for me to keep busy while still like processing feelings about not returning to teaching, which sounds very silly because like I'm very happy with my decision, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't an emotional decision. And I'm glad that I had it going and like got the craft fair stuff. I actually got called by my old school. They were still in need of a science teacher, so they asked me to come back, and I did decline, just because I can't picture myself walking into that building again. Like, at this point, because of the things that I experienced, I feel like walking back into the building would be so negative that even if it was for a higher salary, like doing things more on my terms, I don't want to like go back to that headspace, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not going to completely rule out teaching forever. If the perfect opportunity pops up, like, I'll absolutely go for it if that's what works for me and my family and my schedule at that time. But I don't think the right way to do that would be immediately running back to the school that I had just quit from. So I was glad that they thought of me, and it's sad to know that like my former students currently don't have a permanent science teacher. But I couldn't be that person for them at this time. Like, I have other stuff that I'm excited about and other things that I want to do and other things where I'm like just starting to get the ball rolling on making it happen. So even if like the financial side of it would have made sense, it would have meant like stopping all progress on all the other stuff that I'm working on. So it just wasn't going to be the right fit. But that was not an easy decision. Especially because I taught 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, like, I know the current 7th and 8th graders. I've taught them before. So I'd be going back to kids who, like, know me and would be excited to see me. And then, like, the whole thought of, like, saying goodbye to them again just didn't sound appealing at all. But I hope they find somebody because it's now middle of September and that's a lot of lost science time. So I hope they find someone. But anyway, talking about other projects that I want to get back into. Now that we're approaching cooler months and like fewer craft fairs, as far as I know, obviously if other craft fairs come up, I'd be happy to sign on. But I want to get back into doing more drawing art and writing. So for drawing, I actually really enjoy making coloring pages. That was something that I liked to do for my students while I was teaching. I would kind of make custom ones based off of what they were interested in. And I also previously have sold my coloring pages on Teachers Pay Teachers. So I'm thinking about restarting that, doing some like seasonal coloring pages and listing them both on Teachers Pay Teachers and Etsy, and maybe doing some like higher level coloring pages. I taught middle school, so most of the time when I got coloring pages for my kids, they were like the adults coloring stuff, like the really fine lines and everything. So that's probably more the style that I would stick with, but I thought might as well list them on Etsy too, because you never know. And I saw that there are a lot of like printable hand-drawn coloring pages on Etsy as well, so there's definitely a market for that. But I also like miss painting and doing more of the like visual art. I used to do it very frequently. I know that there was a long period like when I was in middle school-ish where I wanted to be like a children's author and illustrator, like illustrate my own picture books. I also took art lessons for many years. I was an art camp counselor. So drawing and painting is something that's kind of been on the bucket list to like reestablish as part of my routine for a while. I think bullet journaling really helped with that. It kind of got me back in the mindset of drawing and drawing like just for myself instead of like worrying about a finished product. But I want to make some finished products again. So I think maybe some printable coloring pages and even like printable versions of some of my painted artwork might be coming to my Etsy shop soon. I still think I want to stick with only digital products for Etsy until I really have enough interest to make like shipping things out worth it. But right now I'm like having trouble, not having trouble. At the beginning of all of this I was having trouble, but I didn't want to add Etsy shipping things while I was trying to stock for a craft fair, if that makes sense. So right now the plan is still just digital products for Etsy. I do hope to have a couple of patterns coming out in the next few months. I'm working on a pack of fall decor items, which will include a pattern for a crochet pumpkin, but also a wall hanging and a little wall basket to hold like dried flowers and stuff like that. So that should be coming soon. I also have a couple of Christmas patterns in the works that I'm hoping to release like in November so that you could make them before the holiday season starts if you wanted to. And also writing. Like, I have wanted to be an author for a long time, again, since I was in middle school. And I started a writing project that I'm really excited about, and I think because like the plot line is very centered around fall and Halloween, I think I'll be more ready to dive into it once the weather starts cooling down, just to like immerse myself in the storyline and all that. But I'm very excited for November because it's National Novel Writing Month, but also just to like get back in the habit of spending some time every day working on writing. So yeah, between the writing and the drawing, and I'm starting to get a couple of commission orders, going back to once a week YouTube just kind of made sense. I also have an idea that I want to start doing on YouTube because I realized that I have a huge passion for like scary stories. It doesn't matter if it's true crime or paranormal, but that's like what I love listening to. Most of the time when I'm working on crochet or knit stuff, I'm listening to podcasts. Right now my two favorite podcasts are My Favorite Murder, which I started that one probably a year ago, and I went all the way back to the beginning and started from the beginning. So I'm on like episode 120 something. I think it's still 2017 or 18, like at the point that I'm listening at. But really enjoy that one. I also just recently discovered the podcast And That's Why We Drank. And I think that one has taken my like favorite podcast spot because it's half paranormal stories and half true crime stories. So it's like the best of both worlds. That one I also went back to the beginning and started from episode 1, and I'm on like episode 13 now or something, and I only found it a couple weeks ago. Actually, I started listening to it because the two hosts were featured in a Try Guys podcast, which I don't listen to all the Try Guys podcasts, but I saw that one had something to do with like haunting of something, so I listened to that one on YouTube. I also really enjoy BuzzFeed Unsolved. It's like one of my comfort shows now. Really sad that there's only one season left, but glad that the final season is going to be Supernatural because that one's definitely my favorite. But anyway, I noticed that I haven't seen any scary story podcasts or scary story like YouTube podcasts that have anything to do with crafting. There are ones on YouTube that like do makeup while listening to the story, or just purely focus on telling the story, or go visit haunted locations, but I haven't seen any that like also have something to do with craft projects. So I'm starting to outline a scary story crafting podcast that I'm hoping to start next month. So right now it looks like the schedule is going to be that each month you get one Stitches and Scribbles podcast, so like what I'm working on, something like purely about crafting, maybe choosing a couple extra topics to talk about each month. You'll get a crochet with me or a knit with me, which is just whatever project I'm working on, to like do more vlog style. I'm going to do a bullet journal video, obviously, because I do one of those every month because I have to for myself. And then one of the scary story crafting podcasts. And for each scary story podcast, you're also going to get a craft tutorial with it. So I'm hoping to design it so that like you're getting the story pieces like while you're working on parts of the craft or like waiting for things to dry and stuff like that, so that you can do the craft while you're listening to the story. I think that there will be a couple that are knit and crochet, but I'm hoping to branch out to some other craft ideas too. So if you have any craft ideas that you're interested in learning how to do, whether it's painting things or making little items or like really small knit and crochet tutorials, like let me know in the comments. That's assuming that anybody leaves a comment. I'm working on getting my follower count up, but it's definitely a slow process. So hoping some new ideas will refresh that and like get my channel out there more. So I'm excited to do new things. Speaking of like doing crochet with me, knit with me, I am starting to get some commission orders from family and friends, which is super exciting. So the next video that you're actually going to see, I haven't started it yet, but I think it could maybe be a 1 or 2 day project. So I'm going to start filming it tomorrow. But my grandmother actually ordered a baby hat and baby mittens from me because she has a friend who I believe just had a grandchild, I think was the story. So she wants me to make a pink baby hat and baby mittens, which I have never made a baby hat before. I have made baby hats, but not like beanie style ones. I've done ones that are basically a rectangle and you like sew it up so that there's little ears on the hat. But usually I do baby blankets, but she wanted a pastel pink hat and mitten set. So this is the Baby Bee Stork Struck from Hobby Lobby in the color Pinkaboo, and it's 50% lyocell, 50% acrylic, 208 yards, and it is a medium 4, although it looks like the thin side of 4 to me, but just a really nice soft light pink. I really like the feeling of this yarn. It must be the lyocell in it, which I believe is plant fiber, if I remember correctly. But I purchased patterns from Etsy to make the hat and the mittens, and when I do the Knit With Me video for that, I'll include links to the patterns in the description. But I've never made baby mittens before, and I've never made a beanie style hat for a baby, like the normal like stockinette stitch hat. So I went ahead and bought a pattern for it just because I wasn't sure about sizing. So I figured support another creator and just buy the pattern to at least test it out. And in the future, if I want to be creative and design my own, I can do that once I kind of have a baseline for what it should look like. But yeah, I'm hoping to have more of those videos just to take you with me when I'm doing custom orders or things like that, because I do have a couple that I need to make in the next couple months. I also had a friend order a crochet bee, which I'm excited to make that as well. And I have a sweater to make as a Christmas present for a family member that a different family member commissioned. So I've got lots of stuff coming up in the next few months. But in the meantime, you're still going to get a couple more weeks of 2 videos a week. Yeah, that might be it for this podcast. That was a lot of information. I know I talk really fast. I'm trying to slow down in podcasts to like, A, make the video a little bit longer because it's a podcast, and B, to like not be talking at warp speed. But I think I just get really excited about talking about things. So I just end up talking too fast. But thank you so much for watching this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down below if you have any questions, comments, anything that you want me to answer. If you liked what you saw today, go ahead and subscribe and leave a like. I would love to hear from you and have you get updates every time I post a video. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everybody!